Okay, so now I'm going to answer some of the questions you sent me on Instagram. So yeah, thank you for sending those in. The first question was asked was, what brought you to South Korea? And I have been asked that question a lot by people. Before I came here, I would say I love a big fan of the TV shows and the culture and just want to see that for myself and experience that. But since coming here, the more I've been here, the less I know why I came. And like, it's been something that I just like, really stumps me sometimes. Like, the brutal, honest answer is I don't know yet, maybe. But maybe I think it might be just because I wanted to experience something new. It's definitely been a massive growing experience. I've learned a lot. I've become a lot more globally minded, and it's definitely like widened my outlook on life a lot more. Like, I've seen and met so many different people and experienced a completely different culture. It's definitely changed the way I see. It's changed my outlook on life, definitely. And it sounds really pretentious um, to say something like that, but is I know this year will and is changing me a lot. So yeah, maybe that's what brought me to South Korea. Next question is, have you spent Christmas in Korea? And yes, I did. I did spend Christmas in Korea. That was last Tuesday. I'm filming this on New Year's Eve. And I spent the day kind of like hiking. And I also was just chilling with the family I'm staying with here. We watched Home Alone, and yeah, I'm really grateful for these guys hosting me. And yeah, I think generally in Korea, Christmas is nowhere near as big as it is in England and the rest of the West. Like, there are Christmas lights up in parts of town, and it is celebrated. Like, kids get a day off school, and I think most offices are closed, but shops are still open, restaurants are still open. The hype is definitely not there. Like, it really crept up on me this year. Like, I knew it was coming, but like, I kind of was like, oh wow, Christmas is in like 3 days time, and like, was not really anticipating it that much. Like, yeah, I definitely didn't really get excited for Christmas this year. Some ways it made it a bit more lonely, like not being with family, but it was alright. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, and yeah. So, generally speaking, in Korea, the Solal, which is towards the end of January, it's the Korean New Year, which is the same time as Chinese New Year. That's a much bigger thing, and that's, I think, is the more family-based holiday this time of year for Koreans. The next question is there a Christian union in Korea? So I did speak a little bit about university societies earlier on. At my university, I don't think there is. I definitely didn't find one, and after looking around a bit, and I haven't heard of there being one, so probably not is the short answer, maybe, but I haven't heard of one, haven't seen one, and even if there was one, it would probably all be in Korean, so I don't know how well I'd get on with that. The next question is, how's the weather normally? So, generally speaking, the weather is fairly constant. It's been pretty good, to be honest. Like, when I arrived here in September, it was really hot for me and humid. It was hotter than summer was in the UK, except for like in July, where we had that really hot week where I think it got up to 36 degrees. So it didn't get that hot. I think it was more like averaging just below 30 in September. And then it stayed pretty warm throughout autumn. Like, it was still around an average of 18 to 20 degrees, even well into November. And it only started getting cold around the end of November. but even this winter it's still been pretty warm. Apparently this is warmer, it's been warmer this year than it usually is, but on average it's been about 10 degrees. Like, it hasn't been too cold. Usually like 8, 6, maybe 6 is the lowest on average, but they're saying that today it's just 2 degrees, but generally it hasn't gotten that cold. I'd say, yeah, averaging close to 8 or 10 degrees in the winter. Though, on another note, there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's extreme weather. Like, generally it doesn't rain too much, but if it is raining, there's also, that usually is also related to either a typhoon or maybe a storm. And they'd be quite fun to experience because, like, England does not have any extreme weather at all. It's kind of cool to just be when you're inside a big tower block and you see the windows are rattling because of a typhoon. So yeah, the weather, I'd say, has been pretty good though, overall. Not as cold as I'm used to, which is always I miss. The next question I have is, how are you finding the language? So the language is the hardest challenge of all, being here, and it's honestly the biggest mistake I made before coming here was not taking seriously, not learning the language and like not taking it seriously before coming here. Like, I knew I would get by, and you can get by without learning the language, but you really should at least learn some Korean if you want to come here long term. Like, by now I have kind of picked up quite a bit, well, bits and bobs, and like I know a decent amount of survival Korean, but it is really a challenge when you don't know anything at all, and like you need to do even the most simplest of things, like buy a bus ticket or just maybe go to a shop or order something. Yeah, it's really a challenge not being able to speak Korean. So I would really recommend to anyone who wants to study here, do be learning Korean right now. Like, download any apps you can and like really take it seriously, because before coming here I only knew the alphabet and like a bit of conversational Korean, and yeah, it was nowhere near enough. Next question is, what does your typical day look like? So my days varied a lot. Typically, a typical weekday as a student, I was always waking up at 7:30ish a.m. for breakfast in the dorm cafeteria, and I always had a morning class, and then depending on whether it was Monday or Wednesday where I had 4 classes, or if it wasn't one of those days, if it was an all-class kind of day, it'd just be classes all day, and then I'd kind of just collapse in my bed at the end of the day and not do too much in the evenings. Whereas on days where I only had 1 class, I would often go out into the city and just kind of do some exploring, or maybe meet up with friends or do something. Yeah, I think I might do like a video where I just do more of a day in the life next semester. So if that's something you want to see, let me know. But yeah, I could easily spend a whole video talking about what a normal day is like. So yeah, let me know if you'd like to see a full video on that. The next questions is kind of like a group of questions. I got asked some fairly similar questions. So how different was it to what you expected? Or what has been a major difference living in Korea and the UK, apart from obvious reasons like language and stuff? What was your strangest discovery while living abroad in Korea? And did you encounter a culture clash in Korea? These kind of questions are all, I consider them all fairly similar, so I'm going to answer in one big one. When I came here and before coming here, I had a fairly open mind. Like, I wasn't thinking too hard about what to expect. I was just like, let's go do it. And like, I'm not the type to fully plan things or fully plan things in advance. I usually prefer to be in the place and then decide what to do, especially when I'm going on holiday. I'd much rather just explore than have a strict plan. But this isn't a holiday, and you do learn that very quickly. And so, yeah, I'm not the most easily surprised, but I think some of the things that I was initially kind of noticed or impressed or hit by was like how busy and loud everything was. And that might just be because I'm in a city, but like all the shops play like blast music out, and like there'll be especially outside phone shops, there's all these people standing around trying to get you to buy phone contracts. They never talk to me because I'm a foreigner and so can't buy a phone contract. But yeah, it's also very busy, and like taking things slow and relaxed isn't really a common mindset here. It might just be a Busan or Seoul type thing. But yeah, like if you're meeting friends, you kind of have to be exactly on time and like stick to a schedule. There might be a plan in place, and like generally that has been helpful. Like, and I could definitely see the benefits to that. But I just think about trying to do that in the UK with my friends, or just in general, that just wouldn't work. Like, I'm so used to telling people to come an hour earlier than I expect them to arrive so that they actually arrive at the time I want them to arrive. So say 5. If I want my friends to arrive at 6, I'll tell them 5, you know, that kind of thing. And I think that's a thing a lot of people can relate to. Over here, it's really rude to do that, like showing up late. So yeah, that's one thing that I've been getting used to. But the weirdest thing, I think, was the attention I get as a foreigner, as a British foreigner. It's like a lot of people, you just have like lots of people kind of come up to you and talk to you. And like generally a lot of the time it's fine. Like it might be like just random conversations in the canteen, or if I'm at bar or outside a bar, then that's like, and like with a group of friends, that's like, it's kind of fun. It's different, especially in the UK, where I think people generally keep to their friends and keep to what they know when they're going out. And yeah, you do get people who don't do that, but who will go and talk to people, but generally we kind of keep to ourselves a lot in the UK and our circles. So that's been interesting, though it can be weird at times where like I'm sitting in a cafe by the window and then like a group of school kids will walk past, and then they'll all turn and stare and like point at me to like their friends and stuff, and like I don't know what to think of that, to be honest. Yeah, so that's probably the weirdest thing. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so that is the end of that video. Thank you so much for watching. This has been really long. Yeah, so thank you for sticking with it. If you did, mad respect to you. Hopefully this has given you an insight into what it's like studying abroad in South Korea and living in Korea and Busan. Yeah, and hopefully it's answered your questions. As I said earlier, like I didn't answer some of your questions because what I discussed in the topics, I think, answered those questions. So I didn't answer every question directly. I think I've answered every question that you asked me, if that makes sense. Thank you to Dominica, especially. You asked me 80% of those questions. If like it wasn't for you, I would have no idea what to say. Probably would have made some stuff up and it would have been a bit awkward. So yeah, really appreciate that. Thank you, Dominica, particularly. Yeah, what you can expect from this channel in the near future, I'm going to be going to China and Japan, and so there'll be some travel vlogs for that. And then I will be going back to England in February for for the most of the month, and then before I would then return back to Korea in March for the next semester. So that means that the channel will probably take a break unless you guys would like to see some videos of me in England. But do let me know. I started this channel because I restarted making videos again because a lot of people wanted to know what I'd be getting up to over here. But if I don't really hear from you guys, then it feels like there's not much point in making these. So yeah, if you want to support this channel, do subscribe if you haven't already, and like particularly just like let me know what you think, even if you don't like what I'm making, or I just really want to hear your feedback, good and bad, because then at least I know that people are watching and it helps motivate me. So as I said, subscribe, maybe like the video if you liked it. Let me know your feedback. If you're feeling really brave, maybe give it a little share, maybe a cheeky share. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely new year. It'll be 2020 by the time you see this. Thank you to all my friends I've made and people I met in 2019, and praying that you all have a great 2020. Thanks. Bye-bye. Unless you were blah blah blah. Ooh.